We are kicking this thing off with a film, Matt, by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Actress extraordinaire has stepped behind the camera to make her directorial debut with the film The Lost Daughter. The movie is based on a book of the same name that was written by Elena Ferrante and published in 2008. It sports an amazing cast led by Olivia Colman, and the best part, it's streaming on Netflix right now. Matt Kay, Pam, and I headed to a secluded beach in Greece to check it out. Olivia Colman plays Lida, a middle-aged divorced woman who is on vacation in Greece when the film opens. The weather is just right, no one is around, it's quiet. This lasts for less than a minute as people come storming the beach, making noise and running around. Among them is an American family who Lida tussles with instantly when she refuses to move her chair to accommodate a birthday party. This scene may not seem that significant to the naked eye, but it can be viewed as an analogy for the internal struggles Lida had when raising her own family. The issue The Lost Daughter deals with seems almost taboo: women who struggled with motherhood. After viewing this film, I read a couple reviews on it, and I found one, The Guardian, to be on point. I quote from that review: "The Lost Daughter dares to posit that for some, motherhood might not actualize the self, but plunder it." We see this transpire in flashback scenes in which Lida is played masterfully by Jessie Buckley, which in return helps us understand why Olivia Colman's actions make some sense. This is not an easy watch by no means, but it is one that makes for a great discussion afterwards. It is a remarkable first feature from Maggie Gyllenhaal. I turn it to our critics, Matt Kay and Pam, both of which are parents. What did you make of The Lost Daughter? Matt?
First of all, I want to congratulate Maggie Gyllenhaal. I think that this is, by all accounts, a successful directorial debut. Personally, I hated it. I found it the most difficult film to get through that I have ever watched, and I made it through Annette. So
that's right.
This movie is a slog. There is nothing redemptive about any of the characters whatsoever, nothing to attach to, nothing to like. It's all just dreary, depressive, meditative slowness. And I have no problem with the theme on motherhood. I'm a huge fan of Babadook, which explores similar themes, but I think it's just such a turnoff that I couldn't get past it in this instance. Olivia Colman, on the other hand, like, I could watch her sit and watch paint dry, which is pretty much what you're going to do in this movie.
Pam, you got to be on my side here, and you had to like The Lost Daughter.
You know what? I did, but I also understand Matt's point of view, and I'm going to be completely honest here. I started to watch that in my basement at home with lots of distractions, and I'm like, this is going nowhere. I can't watch it. And I gave up. And then I saw it in a movie theater where I was sitting and had to pay attention. And oh my God, I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I caught things that I didn't catch before because I was distracted because the dogs had to go out. I felt things in these subtle nuances. I mean, you talk about Olivia Colman being able to watch paint dry. The expressions in her face have a million different emotions that we can all relate to. And yes, it is a bit of a slog. And no, there aren't any redeeming aspects to this film other than the fact that you can walk in another person's shoes. You can walk in a woman's shoes. You can walk in a mother's shoes to feel some of the same struggles, that power struggle. And oh my God, that one little girl, I just wanted to throttle her. I needed her to go into timeout. I mean, and to Gyllenhaal's credit, she pushed that aspect just to the point where you're like, I can't take anymore. And then she would cut and go to a different scene. It does slog in points, as you had said. I think it focuses on being so artistic that it forgets that it needs to tell the story.
Yes.
And it took too long to push things through, kind of like how I'm doing right now with explaining the movie.
I got 2 quick points.
Go ahead, Matt.
The camera work you're talking about was one of the things I actually found myself paying attention to more because the story was so boring.
Okay, and that shouldn't be, though.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. Yeah. But I will point out the cinematographer is the same that gave us Sometimes, Always, Rarely, Never. And the other point I had, this is kind of how I think about this film, and especially Olivia Colman's performance, because I do think she's amazing. And Jessie Buckley was great too, but this Olivia Colman's just like on a different level. It's as if you commissioned Rembrandt to paint a dog. It's going to be a great painting of a dog. That's my analogy, guys. I thought it was.
Wow.
Well, I don't know what the hell.
I like the dog.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's talking about half the time. So
it's a beautiful piece of art, but it's still meaningless. It doesn't convey.
You can't tell me that The Lost Daughter is meaningless. There is no way this film is meaningless.
I think that just left us all speechless.
No, it has themes. It's meaningless is probably the wrong word. It's just, it's art
so
for the sake of art.
Opposite of this movie.
I will say the movie is successful with the themes because obviously we're talking about them. They are thought-provoking, but unfortunately it's wrapped up in this dog painting that is just, there we go again. It's just completely unsatisfying. You know what I mean?
I disagree.
You can bury a gem in a pile of crap and it's still, wrapped in a pile of crap. It's still a gem. Fine. But you can have the gem.
You're being way too harsh on this.
I will wash it off and clean it and wear it proudly.
I do want to mention the cast because all around, yes, we're talking about Jessie Buckley a lot and on Olivia Colman, but this is a superb cast. You also have Ed Harris who pops up in here, and we've mentioned her, Dakota Johnson. I have to give credit where credit's due. I was so harsh on her when she got started here. I said she's a throwaway actress. And then slowly but surely, I'm seeing her in things where I'm like, oh, she's much better than I'm giving her credit for. And she won me over again here, playing
Did she really?
Yeah, the mom/wife of the American family that Olivia Colman has the tussle with. It worked for me. I didn't even realize it was her for about 15, 20 minutes. I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's Dakota Johnson. So they did a good job.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't explore that character enough. I would like to have seen a little bit more of that. This was truly Lita's story in the current times as well as the past. And then I know Chuck and I had I won't say a heated conversation, but we had a conversation about the ending.
Oh, let's do that. I mean, can we dance around spoilers here?
Go for it,
man. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, it is kind of hard.
Okay, so earmuffs if you don't want to have any spoilers, I guess. But he believes that she's no longer with us. And I'm totally. Like, everything is hunky-dory. And she has rectified things.
I think the entire movie is her reconciling her sins. Not to get spiritual on you, but I think that it's an allegory for purgatory, where you face all the things that you've done in the past, your transgressions, your wrongdoings, and then at the end she dies and she comes out, she's in heaven all of a sudden, spoiler alert, but she's doing things that she hasn't done in years and wishes she could.
Oh my gosh, I think that's a beautiful ending. That is so not what Maggie Gyllenhaal said it was, but I like your ending interpretation much better.
Really? That's interesting because I thought it was so like, oh, obviously this is what it is.
Well, you should know, Matt, you're wrong about 95% of the time, so you should have guessed yes. If that's what I'm thinking, it's wrong.
I like that interpretation. That's a beautiful ending to the story. I like that.
I thought it was like an existentialist kind of movie, but what was your thought, Rye? What do you think?
Well, to be honest, I saw this at the Chicago Film Critics Festival, which was, I think, in November sometime. And I remember when we came out, I thought, man, it's definitely open to interpretation. And I thought I would have probably seen it a second time before doing this review, but I haven't. So it's not nearly as fresh in my mind.
Right.
All right. Last point on this. In the beginning of the movie, it opens with her collapsing on the beach. Okay. Right. So that is her death. Everything that happens after that is a recollection of her life. And then at the end, we see her wake up from that and suddenly things are bright. Take from that what you will.
Oh, and it is light and bright. I like that. I enjoy your interpretation of the ending, which to me then makes this powerful movie even more powerful.
Yes, it just turned it into a 4-star movie. I love it.
Failed.
Right. I think I gave it 3 stars, but I'm up to 3.5, close to 4 now. Thank you, Matt.
Jesus. You're welcome. You can have some of my stars.
Matt, was there a jaw-dropping moment in here for you?
The hat pin, I suppose, is the jaw-dropping moment of the film. I couldn't find it. You know what? Here's another one. The pine cone was genuinely almost a horror movie vibe, gave me a sense of dread. I thought that was well handled, but it's not exactly a jaw-dropping moment.
No, I don't think there's necessarily a jaw-dropping moment in the film, but as far as the idea of the missing doll, I love when we come to realize that Olivia Colman's character actually has the doll, and how strange that is. That whole entire sequence there, I was like, what is going on? This is so bizarre. It lured me into the story even more.
See, actually, Chuck and I found a doll in Central Park, and we took a picture. I'll send that to you guys. But how about the way Ed Harris danced around the whole doll being on the patio, and Olivia Colman's character didn't seem super stressed out about it. I'd have been a little more like, what's going on here? I got to get him away from the window, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a mob doll. You got to be careful.
Right?
Movie poster quote, Matt?
I don't know. It lost me. There you go.
Oh, boy. I went with the perfect movie to take your kids to.
See, I'm afraid for my daughter to even listen to this podcast, and my son as well.
All right. We're on a 4-jaw scale. How many jaws, Matt?
1.5.
Wow, that is harsh. That is harsh.
I want to be entertained, and I wasn't.
3.5. Matt bumped me up. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
That's already at 3.5. I'm sticking with 3.5 jaws from me as well. So, Jawheads, obviously, we are split on this one big time. So if you see The Lost Daughter, it's streaming right now on Netflix. Shoot us a tweet at CinemaJaw. Let us know what you thought. Do you side with Matt? Do you side with me and Pam? Or you can always email us. feedback@cinemajaw.com. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay.
And keep on jawing about the movies.